Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com, and this is The Gutters, the show where I talk about the things in between and outside of comics, basically my life. I haven't done one of these in a while. I think the last one I did that wasn't a Star Trek commentary, I was losing my mind and had to get some things off my chest, but that's not what this episode is going to be about. I encountered something recently that made me want to do something like this, which is basically I'm just going to talk about some stuff that I've been doing or been experiencing, been enjoying in some cases. So, what's going on with me? It's my audio journal. And so, this might be a regular thing or it might not. I don't know yet. But, okay, I'll start off with work. Work sucks. I'm a manager at a company, a tech company, where I live, and I run the literature department. And so we tend to get very busy this time of year, September, October timeframe. There's a big conference that my company is associated with and participates in, and there's just a lot of work, and it's very stressful, lots of hours worked. And so that's always fun. I've been there 20 years now, and every year I hate this time of year. Fortunately, at this time, at the time of this recording, we're done. We're done with it, and we get back to our usual busy selves. So that's good. The other thing was, man, some people are difficult to work with, right? There's this guy. He's kind of a bigwig at the company, and he doesn't particularly like me. Anyway, he decided to pull me into a meeting with my boss and berate me for 2 hours, which, sounds like a lot of fun, right? And he did this over something that happened almost 2 years ago, and he's still complaining about it. That was a fun day, let me tell you. Like I said, I've been there 20 years. I have about another 10 to 12 years, I think, because of my age, left to go at that company, and it's becoming harder and harder every year to do this. And I keep thinking, well, what are you going to do? Your age, you can't really start over somewhere else. Who's going to hire you? And I know that's not always true. It's not going to be true. But, change is scary. And I need some security in my life at this point. Got bills to pay and comics to buy and all sorts of other things going on. So, I guess I just have to deal with it. Anyway, work sucks, like I said. Another thing that sucked recently, this happened about a week or so ago. My dog got sick. I got the brilliant idea of giving him a bone to chew on because I thought, he could nibble on this for, a little while. And then I turned around and I was working on dinner, finishing that up. And next thing I knew, the dog inhaled this bone. Like literally, it was like it was about as big as my hand. And he ate almost all of it, other than probably a 2 to 3 inch diameter size piece of bone. And I thought, that can't be good. And indeed, it wasn't. 2 days later, he's throwing up. He's, got intestinal distress. And anyway, my wife calls me from, she's at home. I'm at work. She's called me saying, looks like your dog is dying. Do we take him to the vet or what? And anyway, long story short, the next day I take him to the vet and they give him some, they do check him out, and seems like whatever he ingested, as far as the bone goes, he's been getting rid of it through the various means, and it seems like the danger is past. I had to have him on some medication for about a week, but he's doing much better now, and thankfully so, because I love my dog. I loved him so much that I gave him a bone when I probably shouldn't have done so and knew I shouldn't have done so, but I thought, oh, what the heck, he deserves a treat. So let that be a lesson to you. Be very careful about what you give your animals to eat. I won't be doing that again, ever. I'll treat him in other ways, but I'm so glad that he's doing better now. What else? What else have I been doing? If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram or even Facebook, you've been seeing me post things for Inktober. And if you're not familiar with that is every October, artists draw things in ink and post them for one thing a day. And there's a prompt, an official prompt from the Inktober website. I can't remember the name of the guy. But anyway, he posts a prompt for each day. And I decided this year, because I knew about it a couple of years ago. This is Jake Parker, who I am talking about. And there's an official prompt list that I've been following. One drawing a day. The first day was poisonous, then tranquil, roasted, spell, chicken, etc. To today, which is the 22nd of October, and I did expensive. Not everybody follows these prompts. I just decided to do it just to get to have something to actually work towards. And so my whole point of doing this was just to do something creative. I always talk about that, how I want to do something creative on the podcast, and just haven't really done that. And so I thought maybe this might be a really good chance to do something different. I used to draw when I was younger, wanted to be a comic book artist, just like a lot of kids who grew up reading comics. But, that didn't turn out. It turns out I was more of a writer than an artist. And even still, I haven't been doing any writing. But for some reason, I've been wanting to draw lately. And so this was a perfect opportunity. I've been surprised at how well I'm doing. And boy, let me tell you, there's a big handicap there, because I'm not a great artist. I'll be the first to admit that. But I was surprised at how well I was doing drawing in ink without penciling first to do the drawings I've been doing. And so, I've been pretty pleased with that for the most part. Not everything has worked out very well, including today's, which kind of sucked. But, I'm trying not to let that negativity, that inner critic, have too much of a voice in my head. This is supposed to be fun after all. And so I'm just trying to do something a little creative. And maybe something will come out of this in terms of spurring me on to do some more creative work. I think I got some, TV, movie, and podcast stuff I'll talk about, and then I'll stop. So as far as podcasts go, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Some comic book based podcasts, some politics, entertainment, various things. But I like podcasts. I obviously do one, so it stands to reason that I like them. I like listening to them. But there was I found out at Rose City Comic Con that Felicia Day started her own podcast, and somehow that I was totally oblivious to that. And I talked about this on the main show when I talked about Rose City Comic Con, but she does or was doing, I don't know if she still is, but she's doing or was doing a weekly show, still might be, don't know, because I'm still playing catch up. I'm only about 9 or 10 episodes in, but she's doing a very similar thing to what I'm doing here, and that's where I got the inspiration to do this. at least in this way. I thought about doing something like this before and didn't think, I don't know, that it'd be worthwhile. But then I thought about the episode I did at the beginning of this year, where, like I said, like I mentioned before, I needed to get some stuff off my chest, some personal stuff that I was dealing with. And while I was vague about that, it did help to just kind of talk through it. So I don't know, I thought I would try this out. So I guess, you'll let me know if you like this. Anyway, so I have been listening to Felicia Day on her podcast, Felicitations. And just listening to her, the way she describes her life and the way she talks about things, I really enjoy that. And so I'm not her. I'm not trying to emulate her other than this format. But, if you like Felicia Day, give her podcast a try. Also recently, the podcast Serial returned. If you're not aware of Serial, it's an imprint of This American Life. They did an examination over several episodes about a murder trial and the result of that, and doing their own investigation into the facts of the case. And you kind of had to, the way they presented it, you kind of needed to make up your own mind about whether or not the guy who was convicted of this murder was actually guilty of it. And that's still going on, actually. And then they had a second season about a soldier who deserted the military and got into some trouble because of that. Kind of hit close to home because he is from Idaho, as I am. So that was interesting. But anyway, they're back. But this time, Serial is examining the justice system by spotlighting a bunch of cases and a bunch of people who are working through the system. So that's been very interesting as well. And then just finally for podcast, this time around, I want to highlight Heavyweight, which is a Gimlet produced podcast by Jonathan Goldstein. I highly recommend you, if you like interesting hosts and interesting stories about people, which are things that I'm just really getting into in terms of the podcast arena. And not to mention personal memoir in comic book form too, now that I think about it. But go listen to Heavyweight, because that show, out of the about 75 or so podcasts that I'm subscribed to, is always top of my list. There's some others. I'll talk about those maybe in a future episode, but for now, that'll do. Some movies that we watched recently, my wife and I. There's a weekend where it was just the two of us at home, and we watched a couple movies. One was Ocean's 8. That was her choice. That's the all-female version of the Ocean's movies, which I wanted to like, but didn't. Had nothing to do with the fact that it was a female cast. It was just not a very well written movie or very well directed movie in my mind. But my wife seemed to enjoy it for the most part. And the movie I chose was Red Sparrow, which was an interesting movie. Oh boy, I'm blanking on her name. The actress from the Hunger Games movies. Jennifer Lawrence. She plays a Russian spy, but she was a ballerina who got injured, and through a family member who is part of their spy network, she became a spy herself, and then the stuff happens. But boy, was that a good movie. I really, really like that. In fact, the title Red Sparrow that's the name given to, I don't remember if it was to her specifically or to the group of spies that are trained in this place. But it reminded me of the Black Widow series from a year or two ago, where they talked about, or they I don't know if it was from this particular series or if this is an old thing that they brought back or whatever. But anyway, got into Natasha's upbringing as a spy, as it were. And I think they called it the Red Room. And boy, this Red Sparrow just really seemed to me to be the Black Widow movie that we didn't get. And Jennifer Lawrence was great in it. So if you're into spy movies, as I am, I always enjoy a good spy movie. This is a really good one. I also enjoyed Atomic Blonde for that matter, but anyway. And then finally, 2 weekends ago? See, I've been meaning to do this audio diary type thing for several weeks now, and I keep meaning to do it like on Sunday mornings when the family isn't quite up yet, and I am, and it just hasn't worked out. So here I am recording on a Monday evening at 10 o'clock, finally. But anyway, we rented Ready Player One a couple weekends ago, and my granddaughters and I watched that, and boy, did I enjoy that movie. I've listened to the audiobook as read by Will Wheaton and thoroughly enjoyed that. And so when I found out they were going to release a movie, Steven Spielberg directed, I've heard some complaints about, I don't know, some grumblings about some of the changes they made to the book or to the story from the book. But, it was a 2+ hour movie. They had to make some cuts, had to make some changes, make it, cause I don't remember what's his name? Klein? Was it Klein? Ernest Klein, I think, is the author. I don't remember when he wrote this book, but, cause it's basically the movie is like a love story, for, geek culture from the 80s, geek and pop culture from the 80s. And so, I don't know, I think Spielberg chose to update some of the references. But boy, what a fun, if you grew up in the 80s like I did, it was a fun nostalgic trip, I guess, is how I want to put it. I really enjoyed it. There were some problems with the story itself. The love story in particular. I preferred the way that the book progressed that. There were some things that they cut out of the story essentially that I felt were kind of essential. But anyway, this is Monday morning quarterbacking type stuff. So, or whatever morning. When is football on anymore? It's on 3 or 4 times a week, right? So anyway, like I know anything about that. And then finally, I'll just mention some TV that I've been enjoying, or at least I want to reference. First of all, there's several of these actually. The Good Place is back. This is the Kristen Bell TV series. Ted Danson, great show. It's in its 3rd season. Boy, if you haven't watched The Good Place, you really should. It's smart. It's funny. It examines the afterlife and philosophy in ways that I never thought you could successfully, as successfully as it has. Also back is the new Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker, and she's doing a bang-up job as the new Doctor. Been enjoying that. There was the Magnum PI reboot that debuted in fact, I just now realized that I probably missed the 3rd episode or the 4th episode, because I watched the first 2, missed the 3rd. Yeah, that'd be the 4th. So anyway, I was a huge Magnum PI fan back in the 80s when it came on. I remember distinctly watching the very first episode in December. I believe it debuted in December 11th. I was home alone. My parents were working nights at that time. My brother and sister were in bed, and I watched the pilot to Magnum PI and fell in love with that show. And watched it throughout its entire run. And in fact, I have the series on DVD. Big Magnum PI fan is what I'm trying to say. And I watched this reboot, and yeah, I'm not going to continue with it. Obviously, I don't care enough about it to remember to watch it now, which is too bad. There's some things that they changed about the show that I actually do like. I think are a bit of an improvement over the original. But it's like watching Hawaii Five-0. That has the same kind of feel, tone to it, and that's not for me. Let's see. Also back on TV is Nathan Fillion in The Rookie. I just watched the first episode last week. I quite enjoyed that. If you like Nathan Fillion, you should like this show. There's not much more to say about that. So I'll move on to the DC Universe app, the DC Universe streaming service. So I signed up for that a couple weeks ago, and started out by watching Legends of the Superheroes, that 1979, I think, a couple specials they did in 1979. I remember watching one of the specials at least back in 1979, but I did not remember much about it other than thinking how cool it was to see these superheroes being portrayed by real people. I mean, you know, it was the Adam West Batman and Burt Ward Robin in it, so you know everyone recognized them. But you had Green Lantern, you had Hawkman, the Flash, Huntress, curiously, because that was, you know, back then an Earth 2 character, but they had her in. Black Canary was in it. I'm forgetting somebody. Anyway, and a bunch of Captain Marvel. That's who I'm forgetting. And a bunch of other, you know, villains, Sinestro, Dr. Sivana, curiously, the wizard from the Legion of Superheroes, Mordru. That was a weird addition, other than, you know, the whole magic thing. There's some others, Solomon Grundy, forgetting some people. Anyway, I spent too much time on Legend of the Superheroes. But since then, the TV series Titans has debuted, and so I watched the first episode of that. I may talk about that on the main podcast down the road. But interesting take on the Titans. So we'll see. The comic book offering on there is also interesting. I know they talked about how they're curating the line, but regardless of that, I find that I don't particularly care trying to read comics on my TV, even though I'm okay with it on my iPad. I don't know. I just don't like the way it's done. There's a couple different ways you can do it, panel by panel, page by page, or you can scroll down the page. I don't know. It's not very user friendly. But I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have to offer. I'll pay $8 a month for now for that. And then finally, I want to mention this TV. Okay, so several weeks ago, my wife and I went to my daughter's to babysit our baby granddaughter. She just turned 1 this summer, but we were babysitting her for an evening, or I guess the afternoon into the evening. Anyway, she likes to watch certain TV shows, especially the kind of like the learning ones where they learn various things, but also the music has music. She likes to dance to the music. And I was just, I turned on Netflix to turn on one of those, and up popped this show called Hilda. And I never heard of this show. It was recommended there. And so I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. I'll put that on. And found out later that it actually debuted that weekend that I turned it on. And so I was watching it, and I got more involved in the show than my granddaughter did. Could be partially because there was no, music really, other than the theme of the show. But I came back from that trip and wanted to watch more, and so my other granddaughter Madison, who's 12, if you listen to the main show, you've heard me talk about her. You've heard her on an episode as well. I thought she might enjoy it because Hilda is this young girl who lives in a magical valley where there are elves and giants, and this guy who is made out of wood who brings firewood into their house without being invited. Things like that. She goes up against a troll in the first episode. It's just a bunch of magical or enchanting situations that she finds herself in. And she's an artist, and so Madison likes to draw as well, and so I thought she might enjoy that. So we've been watching a few episodes of that. I really recommend that. You should check out that show. Yeah, so I guess that's it. That's everything I had planned to talk about for this first personal audio journal Gutters episode. So anyway, let me know if you care or don't care about these kind of episodes. I guess I'll find that out in the download numbers, but I still prefer feedback. Do you like to get to know your hosts of the shows you listen to, or is it just something you just don't care about? I do and I don't like it. It depends on who it is and what they have to say, and hopefully what I have to say is at least somewhat interesting to you. But either way, let me know. I'd appreciate it. You can let me know by emailing me at longboxreview@gmail.com, or you can leave comments at the blog longboxreview.com. I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.